Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to the City Boys podcast. My name is Ethan Thornton, and we are back for season 2 of the City Boys. I could not be more excited.
There it is.
Let me introduce my co-host, Jacob. How are we doing tonight?
Season 2's got me feeling excited. So excited. I hit the bathroom sink. I hit a little shave. I'm gonna see what it feels like for the next couple months. City goes on a win streak. I might just grow it out again. We will see what happens. But Grayson, my brother from another mother, how are you doing, brother?
Kings, Queens, it's good to be back. I'm actually buzzing right now, not just because I went to the game, but because it's so good to be back talking about St. Louis City in a City Boys episode. We're back. We're so back.
We are so back indeed. The MLS has returned for its 30th season, and the City Boys are back covering it. All right. We are just St. Louis City, our favorite club. How we got this John started. We're back to our original days, back on Zoom talking about St. Louis City.
It's classic.
I
Where
mean,
else would we be?
I am so excited to get into it. Let's not delay any further. Let's get into the match, the starting 11, the recap. Who's taking us through the starting 11?
It has been so long since we've done a City Boys episode that I forgot that we cover the starting 11.
Me too. To be honest, I also did. But I'll just extrapolate while Jacob pulls up the 11. I really like this 11.
Olaf
It was
Melberg's first
his
starting
first
11,
11,
gentlemen.
and it was an interesting one. We had a couple names in there that I was like, what are you doing here? But Jacob, why don't you tell us who's on it?
I appreciate the extrapolating time to get into the starting 11. As always, man of the match who didn't really have a ton to do. So why does he earn the man of the match? I don't know. Roman Berkey between the sticks.
Yeah.
Formation 3-4-1-2, which it was very fluid. It was also five at the back at times, but 3-4-1-2 on paper. We've got Josh Yarrow, Henry Kessler, and Kyle Hebert as our center backs. And then we've got Thomas Totland, Akil Watts, Edu Leuven, and Giannis Horn across the midfield, with Tots and Horn also playing that wing back in the five back formation. And we've got Marcel Hartel as the number 10, who also played a full 90 minutes, as well as Zhao Klaus, who put in a 90-minute shift, and Simon, actual man of the match, Becker up top. That was the starting 11 we ran out with. We did have some substitutions. Conrad Valum is who I expected to be starting this match, but good to see him make his full season debut. New signing Alfredo Morales came on for questionably Edu Leuven. Did come out in the post-match report that Edu was just tired, which is what you expect.
He ran his
What
race.
Olaf was expecting his players to do, run their fucking tail off, and that's exactly what Edu did. And then Cedric Teuscher came on for Simon Betcher, and those were the three subs. That's our starting 11. Ethan, what did we make of the starting 11 on paper before we actually got to see it perform?
Well, I have to say there were a couple surprises for me. Before the game, I was certainly expecting Timo Baumgartel to feature in our starting 11, given that he saw many minutes in the central defending position in the preseason. So I was expecting for him to be kind of that anchor. Instead, we saw Henry Kessler anchored by Josh Yarrow and Kyle Hebert on either side. I will be the first to say that I think Josh Yarrow and Kyle Hebert did a job alongside Henry Kessler. But for me, the highlight defender of the match was Henry Kessler. He played his heart out. Tom Franklin said this during the match, reminiscent of a 2023 Tim Parker Defender of the Year nominee. Very early on to be saying that, but after Henry Kessler's dog-like performance last night, it's really hard to not reminisce just a little bit. I was also surprised to see Giannis Horn go for so long. I was maybe thinking that Celio Pompeu or Conrad Vollum would feature on that left side for a little bit longer. Grayson, what did you make of the personnel?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Of course, not the exact back line we expected, but as we learned in the post-match presser from Olaf himself, that Alm and Nilsson, of course, the subject, has picked up an injury in preseason. He said it's something slight. It's recent, so he's not 100% sure. He can't say for sure, but he did seem pretty positive about it that it's not going to take too long. But yeah, pretty solid game for our back line. That's not our number one, starting back line.
You have to admit, they did allow 0 shots on target. That's a very strong statistic, and we have a great shot stopping keeper. So
Mm.
that's a very strong performance from the back line. And of course, Kyle Hebert did make a couple of errors that we'll go over in the match recap, but I still rate the back line's performance.
Before we get into the breakdown of the minutes, though, I did want to touch on the fact that I was really impressed with Kyle Hebert's play. I know he was kind of back and forth on our podcast last year about does he deserve to start, yada yada. Other than the two back-to-back questionable passes he had in the second half, he had a really stellar game. He
He did.
stopped a really, really important goal scoring opportunity for Colorado, which actually just so happens to be in my minute breakdown, which we'll get into. But with elite attackers that Colorado has, if Kyle Hebert's not there, it's probably 66% chance that that's going to be a goal. So I do want to give Kyle Hebert his flowers. He did have two mess ups, but if we're only talking about two mess ups in 90 minutes against a team that beat LAFC less than a week ago, I'm feeling pretty good about the defensive performance.
Another performance that I would like to point out was Akil Watt. Gentlemen, I think that we going into the offseason, Chris Durkin did pick up an injury. So we were unsure if he would be healthy going into the season. And I know that I have been a big advocate for Chris Durkin and his work rate in the middle. But Akil Watts was plug and play last night, gentlemen. He put in a shift. I think he looked great going box to box, and he shared that Melberg really believes in him going forward. So we could see a lot more of Akil Watts going forward this year. And personally, I love the depth that we have in the center of the midfield right now.
Mm. Interesting one, because I'm gonna kind of have to disagree here. I'm not gonna shit on Watts and say he had a terrible game, but I just thought it was standard. I didn't see anything too crazy from him like I've seen in the past. I thought his passing was great, defensively sound, but for me, yeah, more on it later. But I thought Alfredo Morales definitely made a statement in the little time he had in the midfield. So we'll have to see with Durkin out how long he's out for. Which one of those two boys is gonna lock down that starting center midfield spot? Of course, Ostrich might want to throw his name in the hat as well. We'll have to see when he can get his minutes too, but we'll see. We'll see.
Should we
Shall
get
we?
into the breakdown of the match, gentlemen?
I think we should. What's that? It's the starting whistle. Welcome back to Energizer Park for another St. Louis home opener. We face the Colorado Rapids. Of course, look at that scarf. Beautiful scarf. All right. So the match begins, and first couple minutes are pretty quiet, but not in the stadium. The atmosphere was absolutely bumping on a freezing cold night in St. Louis. It was pretty brutal. I was layered up.
Very much
But
so.
oh yeah. The first big chance comes from a long throw, and we actually saw a couple long throws in this game. I was very excited to see that him and Horn getting a little bit of range in. So excited to see that our throw-ins might become a standard set piece chance for St. Louis. But Totland long throw from the corner, flicked on from a defender into Simon Betcher, who stabs at it, but Zach Steffen makes the point blank save. The ball kind of bounces out and they get it cleared straight up. And this goes right into our next chance. As the ball's coming down to the ground, Kevin Cabral just not even looking at the ball, just throws himself into Giannis Horn, and the ref calls it. Any comments on the refs play before I get into this? What did you guys think of the refs last night?
Less
It
than
was
ideal.
Just a lot of very soft calls. Not saying that this is a soft call, but just very, very, very soft.
Questionable at
No,
best.
he played that game very tightly. He was not letting really anything slide for either
Yeah,
team.
very interesting. But back into it, the ref makes the call, and Leuven stands over a free kick. Jacob is sweating because it's the first Leuven from a set piece this season, and oh my God, it was it was quite nice. What a hit off the top left post. It falls down to Kessler, who slides it across for Betcher. Betcher buries it, and we get the first, however, of the season because it gets called back for an offsides, very, very tight offsides, but it is on King Kess for peeling off behind the wall just before the free kick hits. So
What's
disappointing, but
What's really crazy is if Zach Steffen even got a cuticle to that ball, it puts Henry Kessler onside
I
because a
know.
defender would have touched it.
Yeah, that hurt. I was like, just go for it, man. Just try. Just dive.
Getting getting to jump around and celebrate a goal in City Park was such an electric moment. Just to literally turn around just to double check, like, oh my God, we scored. Is it good? Oh my God.
We didn't
Just
even get
so
a VAR.
disheartening. Just so disheartening.
Speaking of jumping around, shout out to Simon Betcher for trying to throw off uh, Zach Steffen in goal. A little bit of the dark arts there. Pretty fun. But that is actually all I've got for my starting 30. It was a
Wow.
pretty slow build. Both teams were just kind of testing play, trying to get some rhythm going. First game of the season, so slow start. Next part, 30 minutes in, who's up next? I think it's
I
Jake.
can't really blame you, Grayson. In a 0-0 final score, it's really tough to find the great moments, but a couple did happen in my 30.
Hmm.
We start at the 36th minute. Colorado has an intricate 1-2 passing between Cole Bassett and Navajo, which I found out is how it's pronounced this week.
Good
Hmm.
looks.
Navajo puts Bassett in on goal before the Canuck truck himself
Mhm.
blows up the shot attempt in the box, and Berkey, with some wild acrobatics, jumps over Bassett and Hebert and then leaps to catch the ball in order to secure it and then have a punt after it. I thought it was pretty electric stuff from a defensive standpoint. Um, And then we jump to the 45th minute. Just before halftime, Yarrow puts in a nifty through ball for my man of the match, even though you did kind of shit on him earlier. Akil Watts, who was able to cross it near post, finds the head of Betcher, who is unable to put the shot on frame. And afterwards, something that was really cool was Betcher was telling Watts, next time on the floor, next time put it on the carpet so that I can hit it with my foot. Unfortunately, there was not a next time cross between the two of them. And also, I don't think Betcher got a cross on the carpet the rest of the match. He had, I think, like 4 or 5 headers total. Um, Anyways, moving on to the other side of halftime, Edu puts in a corner, which is only cleared as far as Totland, who places it back out wide for Edu. Edu lays it off to Hartel, who swings in a cross that finds the head of Betcher again, who then smacks it far post, but not enough power to put it into the back of the net, and Zach Steffen is able to pick it up. Finally, in the 58th minute, the City Boys earn a corner. This time, Hartel swings it in, and again, Betcher's unable to put the header into the back of the net. Ethan, take us through the final moments of this match.
I would be delighted, gentlemen. Of course, Simon Betcher just staying active the entire shift that he's on the field. He has his shot saved early on in my 30 minutes. Thomas Totland got forward so often in this final 30, and personally, I love that. Akil Watts talked about his connection with Thomas Totland up that right side and his experience in the outside back position, just playing into that, and you can tell they look great after one season together already. Jacob, you mentioned this. Cedric Toyshirt would sub on in the 81st minute for Simon Betcher, and Conrad Vollum made his debut. I want to say that Conrad Vollum really injected some composure into that left hand side. He offers just a different style of play than Giannis Horn in the sense that I think Valam really loves having the ball at his feet, while Giannis looks to create or feed other people the ball who can create with it. And also, of course, Jacob, you mentioned Alfredo Morales made his St. Louis City debut. I won't talk too much about him just because I have a feeling that we're going to talk plenty about him coming up in this episode. But the main thing that I want to touch on from my 30 minutes is the vibe in the stadium, all right? Because around that 60-minute mark, you're expecting changes because it's 0-0. The temperature in Energizer Park is starting to go down and down. It's below freezing at this point. The fans are starting to get antsy. They want to see a goal in the home opener. Then Djordje Mihailovic goes down right in front of the south end, and boy, from there it was a wrap. The fans were feeling ruthless. We wanted blood, and we got none. The gladiators could not feed us. And frankly, that is a slightly disappointing and anticlimactic conclusion to the St. Louis City home opening game this season, gentlemen. It would come to a 0-0 victory. If you want to look at it on the positive side, we kept a clean sheet in our opening match under a new coach in a new formation with new tactics. From the possession standpoint, we dominated, which was not something that we are used to seeing for a St. Louis City team. And the final bright note, I think that we generated quite a bit. We still looked like the very energetic St. Louis City that we know and love, but we also looked very composed on the ball. So that's how the match would wrap up. Gentlemen, do you have any final comments on the 90 minutes or specifically the final 30?
Mm,
None that don't touch on my point, so I will hold off and let Grayson take this one.
okay. Okay. Yeah, as Ethan mentioned, definitely in the second half, the atmosphere started to feel a bit more frustrated. I think, of course, all the draws we had last season kind of make St. Louis very, very angry when it comes to seeing a stalemate. Um, but for me, I'm happy with the clean sheet. We saw a massive improvement in the defense, and offense is cooking something. We'll see how long it takes for the meal to come out, but I think it's coming soon. It's going to be delicious. But for now, it's disappointing the result, but so glad to be back and to be able to watch some city soccer again. So bittersweet,
Yeah, I will
bittersweet.
say that even though we all really wanted to see a St. Louis City victory, the amount of times that I heard, "Man, is it just good to be back in this place?" or "This feels like home. I've been waiting so long for this." I mean, that was on everybody's mind in the stadium. Everybody was just so happy to be there and be back, and so I think that was part the anticipation just had built up so much, and we all wanted to celebrate a goal. The light show before, just the build up before the match was incredible. So yeah, I'm just it's disappointed.
Do either of your points touch on any stats from the match? I don't want to
A
step on
little,
any toes.
not really, no. It's mostly
Okay.
about spacing.
Okay. Well, first off, I'm going to cover the standings. So technically, St. Louis is in a playoff position right now.
Hey.
We are tied for seventh with Seattle, Colorado, and ourselves, all tied for seventh. They technically have us in ninth, even though the goal difference for Seattle is the same as ours. But I digress. The final match statistics for the weekend: 17 shots for St. Louis, 2 for Colorado, 5 on target for St. Louis, 0 on target for Colorado, like you alluded to, Ethan. 55% possession to 45% possession in St. Louis's favor, 496 passes to 436 passes with an 81% pass accuracy. Colorado outfouled us times two. They had 14 fouls to our 7.
All
Each team
right.
Okay.
was shown a red card. City was offside 3 times, and we had 6 corners. So just by the book, if you didn't watch the game, We absolutely dominated the game. And then if you go watch the game, we absolutely dominated the game. And we deserve to walk out of there with 3 points. But of all of the draws that we did suffer through last year, it being a total of 13 by the end of the season, I think this is the best we've ever looked in a 0-0 draw in our 3 years now of history. So I'm really excited going forward. I'm really interested to hear your guys' points as well. Who wants to kick that off?
Wow.
Mm.
That was absolutely electric. I would love to follow that up, honestly. Your energy just rubbed off just a little bit on me. My point this week, because I'm very excited, because when you're in the stadium, it's a different kind of, you get a different kind of look than when you're watching the game at home. And so my point this week is going to be the game within the game. All right. If you have played soccer before, you know all about the individual battle that is between you and the person that you're closest to on the other team on the field. All right. And in my humble opinion, we absolutely won the game within the game. St. Louis City was in charge of the dark arts, on top, under their skin, whatever you want to call it. And I have a few examples just to back up my point. Mrs. Jones, our literature teacher, would be so proud. Thank you. So first up, I'm going to go for Simon Betcher. And this is especially topical because while we're recording, we got a comment on Instagram
I
that
was
someone
just about to
someone
mention
did
that.
not like this. And I will actually be happy to explain this, because as a former player, this absolutely plays into what goes on the field. Simon Betcher is standing in front of Zach Steffen, trying to block his view of the free kick. He's got even a little bit of a smile on his face. He knows what he's doing is just to get under the skin of Zach Steffen, exclusively make his life more difficult. And what happens off the set piece? A disallowed goal, but a goal nonetheless. All right. And this is not the only instance of St. Louis City getting under the opponent's skin in an annoying way. All right. Henry Kessler and Kyle Hebert with Navajo, both of them throwing him around, getting in his face,
Body.
making sure that you are going to get nothing easy. If Navajo wants to talk to Henry Kessler is going to respond and make sure that he gets the last word at home at Energizer Park. All right. All of these little things play into the game. And what I saw was a team that, in a disciplined manner, won the game within the game. So I definitely want to give St. Louis City a lot of credit for winning this 0-0 draw. So we took the same amount of points. So in the grand scheme of things, if you want to look at it like a pessimist, then I hear you. But for me, I'm an enjoyer of things. I like things. So we got a draw here. I'm gonna find the positives within it. And for me, we won the game within the game. Did you see that as well, gentlemen?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, last season, a lot of people were complaining about not getting that edginess from King Kess that we saw in that one viral clip where he throws the ball into the stands. And I think subtly, you can see it when you look for it. You can see it when Kess puts his hands on Navajo, not even close to the ball. Like he'll just put a hand on him, just make sure he knows he's there. And every single time Navajo was just clearly frustrated, complaining to the ref after every single play, just completely taken out of it.
Yep.
Not a great game from him, and I think that's all up to Kessler just being in his head. And on the comment, because I thought that was hilarious, and I'm gonna quote it. Quote to Simon Betcher dancing in front of Stefan. Quote, it was embarrassing. Are they there to win or are they there to play games? Let me remind you, soccer is a game and we're there to play and win. And you can have fun doing it. I don't know if you knew this, but you can have fun playing soccer. You can enjoy yourself. And also, that's a good tactic. It looks like it got under someone else's skin too, so it worked.
I will say it's possible that it made Zach Steffen lock in, because Steffen had a pretty good game when
True.
it's all said and done.
I will
But
say it also may have locked Zach Steffen in place because he did not move an inch for that free kick.
But when you've been on the field and you've gone at someone and you have that like you know what it's like to be in their head and trying to win and get any inch of ground that you can. So I rate St. Louis City's ability to do that this season, and I give credit to the players on the field, and I'm going to give some credit to Olaf Melberg.
Full-blown shithousery is one of my favorite things to come from my favorite team. Granted, just like every other fan, when it happens against you, I want revenge. I want
Yeah.
payback. I want the referee to step in and just start throwing cards around left and right. But that aside, you are absolutely right, Ethan. We did win the game within the game. I loved seeing Simon Betcher in the heads of the defenders. Definitely picking up those tactical fouls as well, just to slow the game down for the other team, get our guys a break. That's the game within the game. Throwing around Navajo. And then also towards the end, Djordje Mihailovic being injured, right? Laying down in the box, and then out of nowhere, he's not injured.
Yep.
The fans also won the game within the game. Every single time Djordje was on the ball after that, he was getting booed out of the stadium. And he didn't do a single thing with the ball after he got fouled and was
Nope.
on the ground.
That's a
So
guy that scored a brace against LAFC in the
a free
middle of the
kick and
week.
a penalty kick.
He's class.
Yep. He scored a hat trick on us last season. What
Yeah.
happened? What happened?
What happened, Georgie?
Yeah. Yeah. So just
St. Louis City comes away with a point, the same amount as Colorado. However, I'm saying we won the game within the game, and I encourage fans who have not played soccer to keep an eye on that this season. That is going to be something that I think Melbourne keeps under control, and that our leaders on the field will have a say in. With all
Another
of that,
thing to keep an eye on this season, if you're really trying to learn more about the game, transitions perfectly into my point. I'm going to talk about attacking runs this week. Had a little bit of discourse through the media about some attacking runs that took place. Now, if you've never played soccer before, there are a litany of types of attacking runs you can make. There are deep lying runs from the midfielders that go past their own forwards in order to create that space. There are overlapping runs, inverted runs. There are runs in behind, front post runs, far post runs, 6 yard box runs, penalty spot runs. There are all sorts of runs that you can make to create just a little bit of space between you and the man who's trying to defend you. And I thought for the most part, St. Louis had some really good dynamic attacking runs. The only thing that I'll say negative to that is I did go back and I looked at the game. There were 4 instances in which both of our forwards, um, 3 of those times it was Simon and Klaus, and then the fourth time was Toyshirt and Klaus making the exact same near post run. Granted, the final score was 0-0, but when you look at those runs versus when our two forwards are spread out in the box and there is that space at the penalty spot for Hartel to run onto, we look a lot more dangerous and a lot more dynamic in that attack than when we've got both of our strikers making the same near post run. That's pulling 2 defenders right there, one on both of the strikers as well as the goalkeeper. So you're automatically clogging up that space as opposed to just having one guy front post. There's a goalkeeper there and a defender. The ball can get knocked around. Then you've got somebody sitting on the back post that can tap it in, as opposed to having nobody on the back post. When we did see a couple of times the ball squirted across the face of the goal
yeah.
and no one was there to clean it up. That's really my main takeaway from the offense. Like, yes, we didn't score any goals, and also I think we would have had more opportunities to score goals had our runs been better.
Jacob, I know the runs that you're talking about, and I completely agree because one of the reasons that St. Louis City dropped points a lot last season was getting burned on the back post. All right, a dinked cross or crappy deflection would find its way to an open man on the back post, and we would concede. This happened so many times within the first 15 minutes of the second half last season. It was
Yeah,
infuriating. So I wish that St. Louis City would take a page from our opponents and just have a back post runner. That is, you said it, and I completely agree that is something that was lacking. And I would love if that was Klaus. I think that has to be Klaus because I think that he will benefit the most from a bouncing ball in the box or the chance to knock something in with his head.
It's a tricky one, but clogged spaces leads right into my point for today because we're talking about specifically the clogged spaces in the midfield that I noticed in this matchup. My point is finding the 10. We need to find Marcel.
Mm.
So, this lineup that we came out with today, we get a two striker system, which St. Louis has played many, many times, and it's been successful many, many times. Also, not successful, like today. Not today, yesterday. So basically, this two striker system should allow Betcher and Klaus, who complement each other nicely, a target man and a runner, to play off of each other. And we play three at the back, so we sacrifice our wingers for wing backs. So they provide the width instead of our wingers. So many times in possession, we see the same kind of passage of play that we saw last year. We slowly spread the ball around the back, trying to, shift the opponent, stretch the back line until we can find that penetrative pass. But so many times I felt like we weren't passing the ball fast enough in our back line to actually force those spaces to get open. And at the same time, I wasn't necessarily seeing those runs from our number 10, Hartel, so much so that he had two CDMs on him. He had to push out wide to get on the ball. Um, so he's supposed to be the link up play, getting the ball to Klaus, to Betcher. But if we can't get the ball to Hartel, we're shit out of luck. So the good runs that we did see, like Jacob mentioned, were forced by the system because we needed Betcher to make runs out wide to get the ball down the field because just simply our wingbacks just weren't pressing high enough, not confident enough to get on the ball. I think we saw it a little bit later in the second half where we saw Totland getting up further down the pitch, starting to spray in some more crosses. And then especially when Conrad came into the game, he's dynamic. He wants the ball at his feet. He'll take on a man. He's getting down the pitch. That definitely brings that width in. I feel like the two striker system, it brings everyone to the middle. We have a 10 and two strikers. That's three people in the middle, and we couldn't get any of them the ball in the middle. We had to pull them out wide to get them the ball. So for me, I think next game we've got to go back to the two tens and allow Hartel to go wide. And we'll see who plays that other 10. Hopefully we get Tuchert back into the starting 11 as well. But yeah, for me, it's that width. We need to be able to find Hartel, get him on the ball, and utilize him more. Just allow him to turn and allow him to run at defenses. And that's where we will start to see this St. Louis offense start to get some goals again.
I agree, Grayson. I think that we could have utilized our width a little bit better, especially on the left side. And I think we did see a little more of that once Wallem came on late on in the match. But you have to say that when Celio Pompeu doesn't come on to the field at some point, that you wonder what kind of attacking influence that he might have had in the game. And when you're still level and you need a goal, I think that he is a player that you insert into the match. So I will question Olaf there. However, Celio is returning from injury still, so I do understand not pushing that too much.
Yeah. It's a tricky one because it's hard to fit Celio in this formation that we're trying to play.
I will say I do agree with you. I think an easy fix to it though is we've got Yarrow and Hebert as the two other center backs, and they did have a great game. And also, they're not our best defenders on the roster for
Sure.
sure. So when you've got Timo and Nielsen starting back there with Kessler, you can sacrifice the defensive responsibility and ability of a guy like Horn maybe even a guy like Totland for a more attacking minded wingback in a Celio, in an Alm, in order to really inject that more attacking style from that position, give you that width and also confidence on the ball higher up in spaces. Because I agree, I saw a lot of like Horn would get 10 yards past the halfway line and then he would stop his run and turn around and cut it back. Totland wasn't so much as bad as Horn was as far as turning around and cutting it back. And that's just because he's more comfortable going forward. But once we're able to have our best defenders on the field, I think that problem gets solved.
No, I
Yeah.
was just going to say that
Oh.
Giannis Horn did not get as far forward as I feel like we're
Mhm.
used to seeing him, at least last year, in a back four. I think that was a quality that we really appreciated about him and Jay Reed both, is that they did add another dimension to our attack. And we did see a lot less of that, I think, yesterday. But I think that reason, just to maybe to speculate on it, was that we saw Giannis Horn maybe add into that back four, stay back where Tottenham attacks.
hmm hmm I think for me, all I want in this St. Louis City side, what I want to see from the offense is the willingness to take on a man 1v1.
Yeah.
I didn't see that a
Agreed.
single time this first match. I don't mind that, our system is to work the ball around, not necessarily have dynamic wingers who will take on a man 1v1. But for me, it's those moments where you beat a man, you're automatically a number up at that point. So we need a little bit more movement, a little bit more speed in our game plan, and I think it'll build. And like Jacob said, we get our starting center backs in the game, maybe a little bit more confident in distribution, and we can move the ball a little bit quicker and see what happens. But we will see.
I will say I can't help but wonder what a defensive back line with Baumgartel, Kessler, and Nilsson looks like. I mean, just so much height, so much composure, and so much confidence on the ball. Not to mention the ability to play box to box like Olaf Melberg wants. It sounds funny to hear the desire to want your center back to be box to box, but in a
Yeah.
back five, I think it allows center backs that opportunity to be in the attack.
Mhm.
One last thing on our formation is that when we were defending and in a back five, we have the two center mids being Lovin and Akil Watts in this case. We're essentially defending with seven men, which I think generally will provide a numbers up kind of situation. I think that the majority of formations offer six attackers at the most. So you're stretching it there. And I love the kind of depth that it provides on the counter attack. I think that when we leave players like Marcel Hartel and Simon Betcher forward, that creates a lot of opportunities for us. So personally, I really love what Olaf has done in his first match with the squad.
I do have a question for you guys. It is a hot topic from last year bleeding over into this year. We saw once again Zhao Klaus did not get on the score sheet. How does everybody feel about his performance? I thought it was like a 6.5 out of 10. I don't think he played perfect or really even great for that matter, but I don't fault our lack of scoring due to his performance. Let's start with you, Grayson, because you've got him on your head right now.
Yeah, I just pulled up his stats here. Yeah, he had four shots, 50% on target. Both the ones he had on target were both from pretty close range and both kind of went to the center of the goal. And that's kind of an issue that we saw is like when he does get his chances, he's not very clinical. I'm really hoping at some point he proves us wrong and does get a goal because yeah, I mean, I love Klaus. I know you two love Klaus, but there's a lot of City fans that are starting to turn on him. And I don't like that. And I hope he can score for himself to prove the doubters wrong and, really cement himself in this team because I think he fits. But yeah, I mean, at some point, your striker's got to score. And I think it'll come. It will come, no doubt. But the question is how long?
It is tricky, Grayson. we know Klaus to be a streaky player, and we were really hoping to see a lot more consistency going into the season. I think it's a good sign that he's finding himself getting chances in the first match, albeit not finishing them like we really need. We do lack that finishing edge and that clinical piece right now. But I really hope that he can find it this season. I will say that he he has to be feeling the pressure as well. He
Yeah.
has got to be wanting to score as well. He knows his role in the team as well. I'm gonna stick with Klaus. I think that we leave him in until he gets a goal. If we're 5 games in and we're still waiting on Klaus's first goal, maybe then I start changing my mind. But because we've seen new signings do some really great stuff this season for teams already in their first game. So I want to see our striker scoring goals, whether it's Simon, whether it's Klaus, whether or Toyser, whoever it has to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. Somebody ring that damn bell. Ding, ding, ding. It's Kid Clash time, baby. Season 2. Kind of episode 2 for Kid Clash. We rated the City Kits last time. And this time, they're up against the Colorado 2025 away kit. In this corner, we got a light blue Colorado Rapids kit. It's quite literally got the Rapids on the jersey. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts?
So say we've seen when the MLS does the Paisley kits, the One Earth kits, the recycled material kits,
Right.
and it reminds me a little much of that, the original pattern. I will say
Mm.
that I do like the color and I like the badge. I think what they did with the badge is cool and reminds me of their captain's armband, which is unique to Colorado as well. But as far as classy kits though, and spending 150 plus on this, I don't think I would do it, gentlemen. I don't think I would do it. Maybe if I was a Colorado fan, but as far as my rating goes, I'm going to go for a pretty respectable 7.4. I think that it is an above average kit. I do like the kind of seafoam green on there, but not personally a personal favorite of mine. Jacob, you look like you're in deep thought about it. I would love to hear what those thoughts are thinking.
Ponder it.
My thoughts are thinking basically everything that you said. Um, Not in love with it for 150 bones, not making it into my closet or on my kit wall. Um, the one cool thing I think that this kit has, and you have to look really close for it, in the rapids part of the Halo mint color design, you can actually see faintly the words Colorado Rapids in it. Um, but it's a struggle to find. You have to like really look for it because I thought I saw some letters in there and then I had to really zoom in to make out the words. But that's about it. You gave it a respectable 7.5. My rating's not too far off. I'm just gonna give it a clean, even 7.
That's funny because while you're talking about the Colorado Rapid and the Rapid, I'm looking at a footy headlines photo and there's just a footy headlines watermark. I'm just like, oh my, I kind of see it. I see letters. Uh
Barely.
yeah. For me, this is slightly better than the Colorado kit away kit from last season that you guys were very high on.
Interesting.
I was not a fan. I think this is slightly better, slightly. I'm really not a big fan. Like, I don't know. When you're talking about just on the nose, it's the Colorado Rapids. Put the Rapids on the kit. Have they not done that already? Like, it's been 30 years. They didn't start. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm gonna give it a 6.3.
Wow.
Nothing special. Nothing special. I do like the Colorado flag. I like
Very
adding that
cool.
in, but the overall design is just I don't know. Just
Did
kind
you
of
get to see this one in
kind of
person?
lazy. I did. I did get to see this on the rack. The post will be out by now.
Yeah, I
So
was
I
gonna
did,
say, are we officially allowed to talk about
yeah.
this?
Yeah, we're allowed to talk about this. I
Well,
guess
I'd say that Kick Clash is a good time to talk about it.
um yeah, I did get to see this kit. It wasn't worn in the MLS store commercial, but they did have all the kits on site. And yeah, in person, it was just kind of middle of the pack, just having them all in front of me. Um, some of them that you see just that aren't as appealing have really nice textures to them that made the jerseys some of my favorite, kind of like the DC United's away kit. We'll talk about that at some point, but a lot of people say it's pretty plain. For me, the texture brings up the kit so much. And for this one, the texture was just regular.
Flat.
Yeah, I
Mm,
just I don't know.
boring.
It seems computer generated, like the computer generated wave. Like no one drew that by hand, I don't think. If they did, I'm so sorry. Great work.
Your work's actually so good.
You
it
fooled
could have been
Grayson.
drawn by a computer.
Fooled me. But yeah. No hate, just a classic 6 point whatever I said earlier.
I think it was 6-3.
6-3. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. I think
That does
that's
it
it.
for Kick Clash this week, gentlemen.
That sounds like a knockout for the STL kit for me. That's the first dub of the season for St. Louis. Let's hear it.
We won
Three
the game
points.
within the game and the Kick Clash battle.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. But yeah, moving on.
In this next match, as we preview our opponents, we are heading to the brand new expansion side, San Diego, who just finished their first inaugural match,
Mhm.
beating the current MLS Cup champions, LA Galaxy, 2-0. What are our predictions for that match, gentlemen?
I'm feeling iffy. I did catch most of the second half of that game, and San Diego did look pretty good against I will say, a weakened LA Galaxy side. This is not the side that won MLS Cup. Very different side.
True.
They looked kind of out of sorts.
Taylor
They're
Twellman said on the broadcast they're finding themselves. Sorry to interrupt you guys, but
there
and
you
I think that is the perfect description. It seems like an LA Galaxy team that had an idea of who they were and a strong sense of a team identity, and then either a lot of the players that built that identity are not there anymore or currently injured. Of course,
go.
Ricky Puig is the easiest to point to, but him missing from the squad, he just inserts so much influence in the game. He is a simply unique one of one player in the MLS. There is no one else like him that can control a game like him. So for him to be missing from the squad is a huge loss. But yeah, we have to give a lot of credit to San Diego. San Diego.
San Diego.
Anders Dreyer. I had I was completely focused on Chucky Lozano. Anders Dreyer is the truth. Their second goal was unbelievable. I know this isn't about our upcoming game at all with San Diego, but I was just amazed by their performance. If I'm being honest, after seeing them take down the reigning champions 2-0 in their inaugural match, I am feeling a little more intimidated by this side. I had a lot of questions in the offseason based on their roster building strategy, based on the comments that their GM and their owners had, and the coach they hired. I wasn't super impressed by Mikey Barras at the U.S. men's national team.
Hmm.
With all of that being said, St. Louis City need to dominate on the road this season. I know for a fact there's going to be a large contingent of traveling fans going to Snapdragon Stadium to experience the inaugural home match of San Diego FC. So I am expecting St. Louis City to bring the 3 points home to St. Louis with the fans, and I'm going to go out and say a 2-1 victory. I think that we will concede because their attack looked electric. But I think that Simon Betcher will be getting on the score sheet. Finally, he looked like he was absolutely determined to in game one. So I don't know what's going to stop him in game two.
I am gonna agree. I think St. Louis gets a dub and immediately turns the tables on last season where we could not get an away win. I think we get it out of the way early. We prove it. We can do it. It's nothing.
Oh,
And I actually think that we keep a clean sheet. I know that's interesting seeing that San Diego's offense looks decent. Looks decent. I will say this
I think you are downplaying how good their
I think
offense is.
our offense looks decent.
our offense looks decent. Their offense looks decent. They scored 2 goals. It's not like San Jose here. Come on. 2 goals against a very different LA Galaxy side, not their starting keeper. They did have their starting back line, but it was all counterattack goals. Like, let's be real here. All counterattack goals.
Their
St. Louis
first
is
goal was a giveaway. Yeah, the second goal
it's
was
a
good.
giveaway and a counterattack. St. Louis is not gonna it's not gonna happen to St. Louis. It's just not gonna happen. We don't get countered. Knock on wood. We don't get how can we get countered with 7 people in the back?
That is true. That's something I love about our new system.
So
I love your passion right now, bro.
I just don't see it. I believe just like St. Louis did in our inaugural season, San Diego's gonna come out hot and they're gonna fall off hard. St. Louis is just gonna speed things up a little bit. We'll see how it
Okay.
goes. We'll see how it goes. But
Scoreline score.
I'll give you a score line. I'll give you a 1-0 win.
You was asking for that for the end of all of last
A
season.
1-0
Yeah.
away victory would be like Christmas morning for Grayson.
Yes, we're starting early. I want what I want. STL, please provide. I
Okay.
Amazon Prime that shit. Should arrive
Goal
early.
score, sole goal scorer.
Oh, I didn't even pick a goal scorer. Yeah. I think Tusher is back in the 11 and he buries a goal.
Wow, gentlemen. Um, I'm actually going to disagree with the both of you. I think this is going to be a tough one to come away with.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
based off of my personal performance in the predictions last year, I am making it a point to be really critical of
Mhm.
how I predict going forward. Um, it is San Diego's home opener.
You're not wrong.
San Diego is electric on offense. We were very stellar on defense, and also I would put San Diego's offense over Colorado's offense. I don't think we come away from San Diego with points. I actually predict a 2-1 loss, and the goal scorer,
Mm.
Ethan took Betcher, Grayson took Toy Shirt. If I'm writing the storylines, the headlines for the City Boys podcast, I think after this match, the only positive we're going to come away with is that Klaus finally gets on the score sheet. So
Okay.
I'm going to predict that Zhao Klaus is the goal scorer next
He
week.
he would score in a loss. He would. That's just that'd be goofy. Uh, you know what? I think Thorsten's gonna score.
No, I
I
thought I
wonder
Not
just
how
for
he
woke up
City.
from a
I wonder I
dream.
wonder how he's doing. I wonder how he's doing. I'll check on him. I'll ask. I'll hit
I
him up.
do not care.
I do not care. All right. Predictions are over. We will see who comes out with a quick 3 points in the prediction series. You know how it goes down. We'll keep track all season. Prediction table. We'll give you an update. We'll see. Maybe we'll have like a full league table. I'll make a cool little graphic for it
We're
though.
going to retcon week one. We all decided that it was going to be a 0-0 home opener draw.
Yeah,
That's what
three
I
points.
remember.
We did great.
Get us started with 3 points each.
Well, Any final notes on this match? Do we want to shout out our own personal man of the matches real quick?
Ooh, that's a great shout. Since I'm talking, I'm gonna go first and take Simon Betcher because I thought he did perform really well. I love when he's added to the attack, and I hope we sign him permanently.
Hmm.
I'll go second. Little bit of a different note. I thought our man of the match was Olaf. I was really impressed with his tactics. I didn't hate his substitutions either. The Edu one was questionable in the moment, but once it came out that Edu was tired, yeah, I'd rather him get Edu out of the game, especially because Akil was having a good one.
Mm.
Conrad was a good substitution. He didn't lose us the game in his tactics. He couldn't really have given us more to make us score. Like we had a ton of chances, so I can't put the lack of scoring on the manager. But that's my man of the match.
Okay. I'm going King Kess. Already mentioned it. I've sang his praises a lot this episode, but some stats here. 7 clearances, 4 of them with that noggin, man. He's gonna lose all his hair. We got 9 defensive actions. That's 6 recoveries. Didn't get dribbled past a single time. He won 6 duels. He only lost 2. He got fouled. He put in some fouls. He told Navajo to shut up.
Sure did.
That's my man of the match right there.
I love that pick. I
Um,
love when a defender wins the man of the match in the people's eyes.
Final notes from this match day. I gotta shout out Alfredo Morales. Dude looked silky smooth on the ball. Like Jacob said, a little questionable taking him out for Leuven. I thought he was gonna come on for Watts because he is a center defensive mid. I would love to see him and Leuven paired together. But at the same time, I thought he did great with his distribution, very tidy on the ball, smooth player. Very excited for him. And final note. Those city kids look damn good. Come on
Yeah,
now.
I think they looked fantastic on the pitch. And for all the sweaty pit comments, I didn't see anything like that on the field.
Yeah.
The accents, get your jokes off. All right, clown it all you want, but we'll talk about it when you are probably wearing it year two because it's come around. And
yeah.
you do want to feel the five stripes because they look nice and embossed. I saw people saying that you couldn't see them on the field, but kind of duh. I don't know. I don't
I thought
know.
they picked up really well on television. So this away match this weekend, you can eat your own words, I guess.
Can you also
True.
read the tag that says what size they're wearing? No.
I think
What?
that I'm a little over people nitpicking the kit. It has a
Yeah,
collar, it has a stripes. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I've
I
got no
have
final notes.
I have a lot of final notes actually. I
Oh,
have a lot
damn.
of shout outs because I got to participate in the STL Santos pregame march with Grayson and go to the pregame party at the Pepper Lounge, which is generally where it is. So I would encourage anyone to go. It's friendly to people of all ages as well. We had a fantastic time. We got to hang out with Tom Franklin, the soccer zombie, great friend of ours, meet a bunch of the Santos, get to shake Cece's hand, which is fantastic.
yeah.
Doing the actual march was an insanely good time. I was shocked at the amount of people and completely astounded at the noise coming from the march in general. Getting into the supporters section was incredible once again. The flags were waving. I will say, if you're new to going to a St. Louis City game, don't sit too low. Otherwise, your view will be slightly impeded by the flags. So just take it
Absolutely.
from a slight pro, sit off to the side or up high in the middle. Otherwise, you're gonna miss a little bit of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, who else do we got to shout out? I know I could see the city refs from right above the St. Louis City bench. They always stick out like a sore thumb in
Oh
any
yeah.
in the stadium wherever. They're great. Just a great time to be back at City Park for match day, Energizer Park, whatever you want to call it. Big shout out to the Santos though. They showed us a great time. I love the new scarves, the new kits. They're awesome. This is gonna go up at some point. The walls is gonna change this season, I think. I think it's season two, so we need a second season of the scarf wall, right?
Oh yeah. We'll give her an update.
My background will also be changing soon. More to come
Mm.
on that later. Maybe in
And
the next episode.
and y'all should be on the lookout for some extra City Boys content. We got some big plans, and we don't just want to provide you coverage for St. Louis City. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. Big things coming. Big things.
Hit him with the outro, Jay.
Well, if you made it this long, you better like, subscribe, and comment. If you haven't, go do that. It's 3 easy clicks away. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure you follow, rate 5 stars. You can also comment on Spotify, so go ahead and do that. All of our socials are listed in the description. If you can't find the description, they've been on the screen at some point. Most importantly, though, do not forget to tell your mother you love her. Peace.
STL. STL. STL.